forever, and a kind of a ritual or a kind of ritual-like funeral to Rue, and the way Katniss sings after her passing away, it creates a kind of a great effect, but also a very, very symbolic issue, because later on this will be also the beginning of the rebels in starting by the District 8, which would spread eventually to the rest of the other districts. And well, as you know, whenever they say farewell to the players, they actually take their fingers and put on their lips to a kind of to show a kind of farewell, and this also identified with the Katniss, who will become the Mockingjay later on. And well, of course, everything is designed to create a kind of a mass effect on people, and on the day before they enter the Hunger Games area. Well, we know that of course the preparation teams are very, very important, and we see Cinna as a Katniss stylist. The way actually he created Katniss as a burning girl, or a girl in fire, Katniss in fire, lady in fire effect is tremendously applauded by the rest of the rest of the people, and this also will be also one of the symbols Katniss would eventually to load it onto her shoulders as a burden till the end of the trilogy. And well, during the first Hunger Games, in the first book, well, we actually see that although Katniss is very skillful with her bow and her arrows, well, because a 17-year-old girl, she's not always capable to fight with the rest of the tributes, like Kato, that we see from the District 2, a huge a ruthless killing machine. We understand that, well, sometimes Katniss is very, very lucky, because actually we also see the other tributes like Clove or Foxface or Trash, and Trash actually he was in a way very significant for Rue. He was also from District 11. Well, he saved Katniss' life because he had an alliance with Rue, and because of this alliance he spared Katniss' life, and so on and so forth. Well, among the other children, we see that each tribute tries to develop his or her own strategy. For example, from the very beginning, Peeta joins the pack of the hunters, and when Katniss saw Peeta among these people like Chloe and the others, well, actually first she thought that Peeta is going to kill him, and she was also ready to defend herself, even that meant to kill Peeta as well. But later on, we understand that Peeta was misguiding the rest of the pack of the children to save Katniss from a possible death or possible trap. And then, well, we saw how Katniss interacted with her skills, through her skills interacted with the other players, let's say, and she knows how to climb, she knows how to, well, set some traps and so on and so forth. And well, as we know, Peter gets wounded while he was trying to defend Katniss, and later on, while Katniss finds Peter while he was in a kind of a camouflage, which is a kind of an ambush maybe, but he was barely moving. So Katniss took care of him and, well, tried to heal him to some extent. And then later on, because of Haymitch and the other peoples from the District 12, they sent some medicine to Katniss and to Peter as well, to heal themselves and so on and so forth. And meanwhile, also we see that Capitol, well, they are very skillful with the genetics, and they know how to change some genetics of the creatures, and they create some kind of hybrid animal-like creatures, and they call them mutts. And well, these mutts are, you know, like the, you know, people. I mean, literally speaking, you may see some mutts around you who are neither, you know, animal nor human. I'm just kidding, of course. Well, I mean, mutts are something genetically played, let's say, what, creatures, for example, half lizards, half man, monkeys, or let's say some dog-like creatures, and whose eyes have been implemented from the death tributes, so on and so forth. So in a way, these mutts are the other enemies that the players in the battlefield that have to deal with. And most of the time also Capitol uses some traps and some other ways to push the players to each other, to let them, you know, kill each other, while they do not let you to hide forever. So whether it is the let's say highly poisonous bees, or the acid rain, or flame balls, fireballs, I mean, and the other things to push all the Constantins together and well, to kill each other. And so also on the other hand, they have to, of course, to find resource like water and food, and some specific foods, berries for example, they might be highly poisonous, and well, water cannot be trusted to drink every time, and while some plants are useful, some are poisonous. And of course, in the very beginning, well, they have nothing, and they have to run to collect the packs, and sometimes you cannot get anything. Sometimes you may, you know, use the pack, and you might wait in the Golden Hall to defend this place, and so on and so forth. But well, at the end of the day, we see that Katniss and actually Peter, well, they have to kill each other to survive, because there is only one winner of the games. However, Caesar declared that, well, there is a new change in the rules of the games, and well, this time the people from the same districts could be teamed, and well, they can survive together, and there might be two winners of the Hunger Games, which will be, of course, altered to the end of the game. And when Katniss and Peeta had to both fight against the Mutts and the rest of the contestants, like Kato and Clove. And we know that, well, at the end of the first book, on page 364, well, the anthems playing yet again, and we rise as President Snow himself takes the stage, followed by a little girl carrying a cushion that holds the crown. There is just one crown though, and you can hear the crowd's confusion. Whose head will he place it on? Until President Snow gives it a twist and it separates into two halves. He places the first around Pita's brow with a smile. He's still smiling when he settles the second on my head. But his eyes, just inches from mine, are as unforgiving as a snake's. Like the snake who seduced Eve to commit the first sin. Well, his eyes have been always associated with the snakes, and if we think about the fact that while President Snow forces children to kill each other, he's like the snake of the Old Testament. So that's when I know that even though both of us would have eaten the berries, I'm to blame for having the idea. I am the instigator. I'm the one to be punished. So while the thing is, when they got rid of Cato and Clove and the Mutt, well, because they were acting like two lovers, and it is later on, of course, it will become the truth. So, well, by acting like they were going to eat the poisonous berries, because that would totally devastate the reliability of the games, so-called reliability of the games. President Snow and of course Caesar, well, they decidedly and automatically said, well, okay, two winners and so on and so forth, which will also cause the death of the Caesar later. But President Snow was very angry with this, and well, when we start with the second book, Catching Fire, well, we understand that Haymitch knows that if there is one way to survive after the games, it is the way of proving, or let's say playing as if Katniss and Pita had been in love truly, and by making this, people would believe in them. Otherwise, President Snow, of course, he knows that Katniss was just pretending to love Pita. And as a matter of fact, in the very beginning of the Catching Fire, we see that President Snow he takes a visit to Katniss' home, and although Katniss and Pita, they were the victors of the first games, well, definitely President Snow was after them, and well, maybe through his I don't know, agents, maybe through the cameras, because it's like 1984 by George Orwell. Everywhere there is a camera actually watching you, and you cannot hide or conceal anything from the rest of the Capitol. And as a matter of fact, well, when we look at the very beginning of the Catching Fire, well, we see that although the game is over, another game is going on, and this game is about pretending to be the two lovers. And both Pita and Katniss, they had to take a travel to the other districts to have some, some review like or interview like videos and promos and so on and so forth. And in the very beginning, we also see that there are some changes in the District 12. And we know that in each district there are the mayors and the peacekeepers, and these peacekeepers, and there are the head of the peacekeepers. And we see that in the beginning of the Catching Fire, well, Gale has been found while he was hunting, and this was one of the most one of the most forbidden things that you cannot hunt, of course, and he has been whipped nearly to death, and of course this was something altered her feelings drastically. And the other thing is, Snow knows that, well, actually Katniss has a relationship with Gale as well. He knows that they have kissed each other. And, well, of course, this is something very interesting, well, when we have to talk about the very character of Katniss, because the thing is, well, it seems from time to time also Peeta blames Katniss for that. Katniss is a bit self-centered character, well, and also, well, we see that she's not very sure about to whom to choose, even to the last moments of the third novel. So she's in between. She's in a dilemma between Peeta and Gale. Well, she doesn't know very clearly, whom would be who would be a better, suitor for her. I don't know. She doesn't know as well. And anyway, in the Catching Fire, coming back to our debate, well, President Snow was getting more and more angry because if you remember at the very beginning of the video, I said, well, Katniss saved kind of a, let's say, or organized a kind of a ritual-like funeral in the Hunger Games for Rue, and this created, of course, a kind of a rebellious act, starting by the 11th district, and then later on the 8th district. Well, when Katniss moves from one district to another, well, people started to see her as a symbol of rebellion. And, well, Mockingjay, her Mockingjay pin has become a kind of a symbol as well of this rebellious action. And as a matter of fact, while Katniss tried to first of all keep her game, but later on, well, of course we know that she's well, I mean, she doesn't yield easily, although she has a rebellious side as well. And because of this, she starts to also create some plans, design some plans in her mind to maybe to run away with Gale to the maybe the remote parts of the District 12, or later on while she was walking around the forest, she comes across to ladies who were in the peacekeepers peacekeepers suites, peacekeepers uniforms, and they talked about the fact that, well, actually 13th district hasn't been totally destroyed, and the video that they show, I mean the Capitol show continuously, was actually an old promo or old, record that they use, and each time they use the same thing by showing the this Mockingjay is flying every time they say, but actually they use the same background, and they try to make people sure that, well, District 13 hasn't been improved much after the nuclear war, and there is no one left in this area, so on and so forth. But they say, well, actually it is said that there are people there are people in District 13, and they have established a new union, a new city, and they are going to fight against the capital sooner or later. And then later on we see that President Snow